Okay, and hello. Welcome into my first ever live YouTube broadcast. I apologize in advance because this is going to be very much experimental. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't got the first clue what I'm doing. But you've got to do it for the first time, haven't you? Otherwise, how will you know what happens? So what I thought I'd do instead of making a video today, and I wanted to make a video specifically about alcohol and anxiety, alcohol and panic attacks, because I know there are a lot of people out there that are using alcohol as a form of medication to deal with their panic attacks, to deal with their anxiety. And I can understand why they do that because it appears to have an instant effect. But as with everything with alcohol, there is always a price to pay. And using alcohol to deal with any of life's problems is a bit like going to a loan shark. In that, yeah, if you're in debt and you go to a loan shark, it kind of fixes your problem, doesn't it? But isn't it also true that the problem you get on the back end is significantly bigger than the problem you started with? And that is true of everything with alcohol. So that's the plan today, but also I want this to be a Q&A where you can just ask me anything you want. So you can type your questions in, and in theory, if I've set this up right, I will see your questions appearing on the right-hand side of my screen and I can answer them. So if you're worried about your drinking, if you've quit and you're having some issues with sobriety or cravings or anything like that, or if you want to ask any questions at all about the process that I take people through, then now is the time to do it, and you can ask me anything. So before we go any further, let me remind you that the Quit Drinking Bootcamp that so far this year, 2018, has been in London, San Francisco, and New York, and sold out at every location. There are no more for 2018, but the first one is scheduled for January 2019. It's going to be in Covent Garden in London. And then we have one in Nashville in February. And then in March, we're looking for Toronto, Canada. I'm also looking for Las Vegas and Sydney, Australia next year as well. So if you're interested in coming to any of the Quit Drinking boot camps and meeting me and going through the whole live process, then go to the website right now, stopdrinkingexpert.com. So let's talk about anxiety and panic attacks and alcohol, because I know that a lot of people are using alcohol as a medication. And if you're having a panic attack, or if you're experiencing strong sensations of anxiety, it's one of the most uncomfortable, most upsetting feelings that you will ever have in your life. And I speak from experience because I've had anxiety issues many years ago in the past. I've also had panic attacks. And in that moment when you're panicking, it really does feel like the world is coming to an end, that you're going to drop down dead, you're going to have a heart attack, or you're not going to be able to breathe. And so you look for something that's going to have an immediate effect. And sadly, people are turning more and more to alcohol. Now, what I talk about at Bootcamp is that everything that alcohol promises you is the beginning of a loop. Alcohol is never the solution to anything. And that's why they don't prescribe it in hospital. You know, you don't go to hospital with anxiety and they go, get him a bottle of Merlot, that'll sort him out. They never do it because doctors in the medical profession understand that the consequences of alcohol are significantly greater than any perceived benefit that it produces. Now, the reason alcohol works so well and why it's so devious and insidious as a drug is because it appears to do what it promises. For example, if you're thirsty, you know that evil clown of alcohol that lives in your head, he jumps up and he says, hey, I've got a solution. Nothing better than a cold beer, right? Sounds logical. And so you drink the beer, and for a few moments, initially, you think, yeah, my thirst has gone away. But it doesn't stay like that, does it? Because really, a pint of liquid should be able to quench anybody's thirst, shouldn't it? You shouldn't need to drink 10 pints of beer to deal with thirst. That doesn't make any sense, does it? Can you imagine if you drank 10 pints of OJ? And you went into work the next day and you were saying, my God, what a night I had last night. I drank 10 pints of OJ. People would be like, you did what? That's not normal. You're a weirdo. But with beer, it does kind of do what it says. It deals with your thirst, but then it's a diuretic, so it creates even more thirst than it solved. And this is how the loop begins, because after 20 minutes, you're thirsty again. And that's exactly why that when you go to a bar, certainly in Europe, I don't know if it's the same in the States, but if you go to a bar here where I live in Cyprus, a pint of lager, a pint of beer is about €2. A pint of Coke would be about €4. And the reason for that is that the bar owners know that the people who buy pints of beer are probably going to buy more than one. The odds of them buying several are significantly increased. But the odds of someone drinking pint after pint of Coke or OJ are slim to none. And that's why the pricing is the way it is. Now, by the way, if you've just joined me, this is my first attempt at a live YouTube broadcast, all right? So please forgive me if it's terrible. But I am open to any questions. If you're worried about your drinking, you can comment now and I will try my best to answer it. And I'd be very grateful because I don't even know if this chat thing works, live chat. I've clicked it on, but there's nothing there. All right. So, anxiety. So if you're feeling anxious or you're having a panic attack and you drink alcohol, it is true that the sensations and the symptoms may dissipate somewhat. They may reduce and you may feel slightly better. Unfortunately, alcohol is a sedative, but it is also a poison. And when you drink poison, your body wants to respond in a pretty violent way because you've done something pretty stupid. But the problem is the sedative, the anesthetic in alcohol, prevents your body responding to the ingestion of poison as it should. So that sedation, thank you to Anu, who's just proved that the live chat is working. I'll come to you in a moment, Anu. So that sedation kind of calms you down, but it also stacks up a whole heap of problems that are going to come to you a little bit further down the road. And so what you'll end up with is more anxiety and more likelihood of panic as the anesthetic element of the drug wears off and you're left with the unpleasant side effects of drinking poison. And I go back to that initial analogy. Using alcohol as a solution to any health problem in life is like going to a loan shark to deal with your money problems. It will fix the problem temporarily, but you will pay a significantly bigger price than the problem you started with. I had a chef, he says, just got my book in the mail. Thank you, chef. Anu says, my husband has a drinking problem. He drinks the whole day for a week or so, falls sick. Then he takes a break for 7 to 10 days. But the point is he doesn't realize he has a problem. It's common, Anu, and it's extremely frustrating. Living with an alcoholic, living with a problem drinker is devastating. And I get this a lot. A lot of people email me and say, my husband is drinking himself to death. My wife is drinking herself to death. She's not the woman that I met. It kills me to see her like that. And I can empathize and I can sympathize because I've been in that situation. Before I got married to Daniela, I lived with a woman who was incredibly smart. A very beautiful, very intelligent, very successful woman when she was sober. The problem is she liked to drink. And the most beautiful aspect of her personality was her intelligence. And it was so painful to watch this intelligent woman turn into a stupefied zombie who couldn't even walk up the stairs to bed, was staggering and slurring and couldn't talk, couldn't communicate. And it used to rip my heart out to watch this happen to this woman that I live with. The first thing to do is look after yourself, Anu. You are in a toxic environment. This is very harmful to your own mental health. It's very challenging and difficult for you. And you mustn't forget that you are just as important in this situation. And you must look after yourself. And that means you do not have to tolerate the full extent of this. There has to be a point where you say enough. Do not shield your husband from the consequences of his drinking. When we're with drunken people, we have a tendency to want to help them and to clean up after them. If your husband gets so blind drunk that he falls over and injures himself and damages something in the house, leave it. Let him clean it up. Do not clean up his mess. As long as he is not at serious risk of, he's not cut himself badly and needs emergency treatment. As long as he is not at serious risk, leave the evidence of his destruction around him. That's the second point. Third point is do not enable his drinking. Do not normalize alcohol consumption. And what that means is don't drink in front of him. Even if you're only having one glass of wine, or you're having a meal and you have a bottle of wine to share between you, stop that. Remove alcohol from the house and don't play any part in his consumption. And don't join in with him. Don't share a glass with him. Just try and distance yourself from alcohol. And don't kind of explain away his behavior. Because I'm sure you get two sides to your husband, Anu. You get the kind of lovely guy that you met, who is the man you fell in love with, and you get the drunk version, which is just a shambles and a shadow of the man you met. And when he's in his sober moments, he'll be able to explain away the drunken moments if you let him. Don't allow that. Don't enable it. There are organizations out there specifically designed to help the partners of drinkers. And I think that's going to be your next step, is to go and get some support for yourself. Because I'm sorry to say, you can't force him to fix this. You can't even force him to admit he has a problem. This is always a journey that we take on our own. And the way I describe it at my boot camp is that it's like a tightrope, and you walk it alone. You can't walk down it holding the hand of your husband or your wife. They can come behind you on the tightrope, or they can go ahead of you, but they can't come alongside you. This is a solo journey, and we all have to take it alone. And so I would gently encourage him to look into this, but don't try and force him. And primarily, more than anything, I would look after yourself. Get some support, find someone to talk to. Hope that helps, Anu. Let's have a look what we got here. What advice can you give me? I'm addicted to Valium and alcohol. I've been in detox a few times, keep relapsing. The thing is, Simon, I'm not a doctor. I'm a former problem drinker, and I don't give medical advice. And so if you have a combination of addictions, the first thing I would say is you need to have a really honest conversation with your doctor about that. And I understand that may be difficult or painful or scary, because when you go and admit something to your GP, you run the risk they're going to take it away from you. And I understand that that's scary, but you can't continue doing this because it's only going to get worse. And the end of this problem begins when you take action. A lot of people come to my boot camp and they want to stop drinking, but they want to keep their sobriety a secret, like they're ashamed of it. And a lot of people say, when I go to a party, I'm going to say I'm on tablets, I'm on antibiotics, or I'm driving. And I always say to them, no, you own this. You own your sobriety. You wear it on your heart like it's something you're proud of. Like, like vegans, when people decide to become a vegan, my God, did they tell everyone about it, right? You know when you've met a vegan because they tell you within 7 seconds. And we need to be equally as passionate about being sober individuals, because actually we're not doing anything wrong. It's just that we live in this weird bubble of unreality in the Western world where it's the people who won't drink the poison who are considered strange. So owning this and being passionate about sobriety and taking action and doing things that have no way of going back, no point of return, is a part of the process. It's scary. It pushes you out of your comfort zone, but it needs that sort of level of commitment and passion. Anu, thank you. If you come to Mumbai, let me know. Anu, India is definitely on my list. I will let you know. I'd love to come to India. Lacey, I want to thank you for what you do. Your free videos and quit drinking book have made an enormous positive influence in my and my husband's life. Thank you, Lacey. That means a lot. Hank, what do I drink in the evening after a full day of work in order to reward myself if I cannot have a beer? Oh, Hank. Oh, man. The reason I'm hesitating is because having a glass of diluted poison is not a reward. And that's the whole premise as to why willpower doesn't work with alcohol problems. Because people give up alcohol because they can see all the damage it's doing to their life and it's making them miserable, but they never address the reason why they drink it. They never deal with their beliefs that alcohol is a treat, it's a benefit, it's a perk. And for that reason, things like AA, where they basically say to you, you've got to spend the rest of your life avoiding the thing you love the most. The reason that's just misery and hell on earth is you just feel deprived all the time. And Hank, as long as you believe that beer, alcohol is a benefit, is a reward, then you're always going to feel like you're missing out if you don't drink it. And the course that I do at my website, stopdrinkingexpert.com, is a process of kind of revealing how the illusion is done. And the way I describe it is like, if you went to see Penn and Teller and they did a magic trick for you, you'd be blown away, you'd be amazed, you'd be like, wow, magic. But then if they came on and they showed you how the illusion was done, and they said, oh, look, there's a trapdoor there, and then we pull this lever, and then the woman's already hidden in here. As soon as you understood how the trick was done, you would never be able to be fooled by that illusion again. I don't care if you wait a decade, 2 decades. If you saw that same illusion 20 years down the road, it wouldn't be magic to you. It would be simply a piece of theater. And that's how my course works. So like you've said there, Hank, how will I reward myself if I don't have beer? So if I show you the illusion that you've kind of fallen into, that beer is a reward, and reveal to you how the trick is done, you will no longer think that beer is something that you should be rewarding yourself with, and you won't have to struggle to drink something else. If you want something that's similar, then you can drink non-alcoholic beer or kombucha or something like that. There are lots of kind of designer sodas now if you want something that feels like a treat. And you can go and do that today, but unless you deal with your beliefs around the drug, then you're always going to think, oh, you know what? This sucks. I'm missing out on my beer. So I would encourage you to go back a few steps and start looking at why you think beer is a reward and a treat. Let me see what else we got here. West Regan, 2 weeks sober, just coming out of the tired stage, feeling positive. Thanks to yourself. That's great, Regan. Yeah, 2 weeks is a really significant moment in this sobriety journey, because you have the physical effect of the drug that I call the kick. And Regan, it lasts about 2 weeks. And this is how the drug applies pressure on you to consume alcohol again. And so the fact that you're 2 weeks out and you're already seeing some physical improvements, that's a really great sign. Really great sign. So just stick with it and know that after 2 weeks, you're out of the kick and you're into the elements of psychological addiction. So just be careful, Regan, that you don't accidentally stumble on a psychological anchor. And what I mean by that is you've probably spent decades connecting alcohol with various events in life. Well, we got Thanksgiving coming up, yeah? So if you're in the States and you've got Thanksgiving coming up, you may feel this really strong urge to drink. And you might get this little voice in your head that says, come on, it's Thanksgiving. Just one drink won't hurt. And they're the 5 most dangerous words you will ever say to yourself. Just one drink won't hurt. And it's not that you need to drink. It's not that you're missing out. It's just that you've accidentally, unconsciously stood on one of these events that you've anchored to alcohol. And there are lots of them, vacations, Christmas, birthdays, weekends, bank holidays, all of these events you have spent decades implanting into your subconscious mind. So just watch out for that. And just remember, just one drink will put you straight back at the beginning of the kick. So if you've just joined in, if you've just turned on YouTube, this is my first ever live YouTube broadcast, and I'm really pleased and I'm very appreciative of your help, because when I pressed that button to go live, I had no idea what I was doing and I didn't know if this would work. And I'm seeing little questions coming up on the right-hand side of my screen. So I'm very grateful for you helping me out today. I'll take a couple more questions and I'll probably just wrap it up for today, and we'll do another one very soon. The classic Arnuts, I think that is. 6 months, no alcohol, no cravings, no interest, no benefit. I'm grateful that I found you. Thanks. Thank you so much for posting that. It really means a lot. Because this is, I never set out to do this as a job. I set out to be an author, really, and I've written on lots of different subjects, but this is the subject that I really feel like I can make a difference, and I can help people dramatically improve their life and improve their health. And so it's kind of why I get up in the morning. It's what I do all day, and I love it, and I love being able to make a difference. So thank you for commenting. Richard said, some people I know have said that marijuana helped them stop drinking. Well, my approach to this problem is to tell you how I did it, because like I keep saying, I'm not a doctor. And all I know is that AA didn't work for me. The 12-step approach didn't work for me. I tried prescription medications that I ordered online illegally and, nearly killed myself with them. I tried every silly gimmick and fad in the world and nothing worked. I didn't try marijuana, but using a drug to cure a drug problem doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'm a very logical thinker, and this is why I have a problem with the word alcoholic, and I refuse to let people call me an alcoholic, and I refuse to call you an alcoholic, is because the word alcoholic implies that there's something wrong with you. And alcohol is the only drug on planet Earth where you get a problem with it and everyone blames you and not the drug. Think about that. If you tell someone you're addicted to cigarettes, they don't go, well, you're a smokeaholic. And you always will be. You're a dirty, broken smokeaholic, and you're pathetic. And you'll always be a smokeaholic, and you'll never, ever be able to be around other smokers again because you're so dirty and you're so broken. You wouldn't accept that, would you? You'd go, what are you talking about? Nicotine's really addictive. But with alcohol, you tell someone you're an alcoholic and watch the pity party they throw for you. They can't wait to get away from you. You're so diseased. You're so broken in society that they can't wait to get away from you and talk about you behind your back. So using a drug to fix a drug problem, it doesn't make a lot of logical sense to me. But I'm not saying don't do it. I'm not saying do it. It just doesn't make sense to me. And that's the same reason that I don't really believe prescription drugs are the answer to alcohol problems either. Because Big Pharma wants to create a tablet for everything. The solution has to be an expensive drug, or there's no solution at all. And sadly, that's how our doctors are trained. Our doctors are trained to write a prescription. And when we're talking about a drug addiction, that is just nonsensical to me. To prescribe drugs to someone to help them deal with their drug problem is crazy. So good luck with the marijuana. I suppose it's okay if you're in Canada now. Okay, let's have a look. Hank, thank you for your kind answer. You're welcome, Hank. Thank you for joining me. You've helped me out big time by proving this works. Vicky, you do make a difference, but society makes it so hard. I really hope one day alcohol becomes like cigarettes, almost embarrassing. Vicky, I agree with you, and I think it will, but we're about 20 years away from that, I think. The way kind of cigarettes have been ostracized, and certainly you can't smoke inside in public places anymore, and it's seen as an antisocial habit. I think we've got a way to go with alcohol, because we're only quite recently have been able to say definitively that drinking alcohol gives you cancer. That's fairly new. And a lot of people still don't know it, and a lot of people still dispute it. And big alcohol is still trying to bury that. You go and try and make a fuss of this, and you'll find yourself with a lawsuit from the alcohol companies. And the bad thing here is that they know that you're right, but they also know that you haven't got the money to go up against them in court, and you'll back down pretty quick. And this was revealed a few months ago in Canada. One town in Canada started labeling all the alcohol bottles in their town with cancer warning labels. Within 2 weeks, they had to take them all off because the big alcohol companies threatened to sue. And the council of this town said, look, we know that what we're saying is true, but we don't have the budget for a law case. So they folded. And so we're still in that kind of blinkered, quite narcissistic phase of the addiction. I think we're about to hit a liver epidemic. Doctors are already telling me that they're seeing younger and younger people coming into the hospitals with end-stage liver cirrhosis. And I think we have an epidemic coming down the line. And when we get to the point where not just 3 million people are dying, as it is now, tens of millions of people are dying young because of alcohol, I think then we'll start moving into the territory of this being an antisocial drug. But we're a way off it. Okay. Robbie says I missed his question. Did I, Robbie? You'll have to forgive me. This is my first time. Robbie says I'm drinking as you speak. What do I do next? Stop drinking? With Robbie, it's when you go looking for help, you have to do it sober. So it's good that you've acknowledged that this is something that's causing you pain and misery, even as though you're in the middle of drinking right now. But you can't put the pressure on yourself to deal with it now. One of the things I say to people who come to my boot camps that I do around the world is turn up sober. And it's purely because you just need 100% of your brain capacity to really get a hold on this. So take that feeling that you've got, that deep sensation that this is destroying your life, making you miserable, and hold on to it. And in the morning when you wake up and you've got a clear head, then start to make some inquiries and start to learn a little bit more about this drug. All right. Sorry, it's not a great answer, but it's all I've got at the moment. Chef says, what prescription drugs were you taking? I tried Antabuse. Antabuse is the oldest anti-alcohol drug out there. And what it does is it makes you allergic to alcohol. And so if you drink it, you get violently ill. And it really, seriously, you think you're going to die. Because I experimented with it. I took it and then I tried drinking alcohol. Huge mistake. Your heart starts to pound out of your chest. You can't breathe. Your face goes bright red. You're sensitive to light. And when I stupidly experimented with Antabuse, I had to go and lie in a dark room for about 2 hours. I genuinely thought I was going to die. Horrendous stuff. I also tried naltrexone as well. Naltrexone is an opiate inhibitor. And what that means is that you drink the alcohol and you still get drunk, but you don't get any of the positive. You don't get any of the euphoria. So it's almost like you're drinking Coke, but getting drunk and not feeling anything apart from the sickness and dizziness. And the theory is eventually you get bored of feeling crap without any of the good stuff. The big problem with naltrexone, well, there's two big problems. Firstly, the side effects of the drug are horrendous and they feel worse than a hangover, or at least they did for me. And the second thing is you have to take the drug. So as a drinker, you have to consciously take a tablet that removes all the fun from the thing you like to do. I just don't see how that works long term. Anyway. All right, look, I'm going to wrap up, guys. It's been really, really helpful, and I've loved talking to you today. I think we'll do another one of these in a couple of days, and I'll try and, if you subscribe to my channel on YouTube, I'll send a message out so you know when it's coming. Vicky, let me know when you come to Sydney. Sydney, I'm thinking April next year, Vicky, but don't hold me to that, okay? So thank you, everyone. I will say goodbye now. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you very soon. And yeah.